There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mental Health Monday. I am super excited for our topic tonight. It's something that we haven't talked about before, which I will get into, but I am joined today by Gaylen Wilson. Gaylen, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to talk to
Yeah,
us.
it's my honor to be here, Mama.
Absolutely. So, our guest today has lived through more than most people will face in a whole lifetime. Gaylen is a heart transplant survivor, a certified relationship coach, and the co founder of the Monument Method Institute, which is taking off. But in 2014, a virus attacked his heart, and he spent 3.5 years in end stage heart failure before receiving a heart transplant in 2018. And that second chance at life is what led him to ask, what do you do with years you were never guaranteed? Which is a question that sometimes comes up whenever you are facing these huge things in life. For the last 5 years, Gaylen has been inside two of the largest erectile dysfunction support communities online. What he has found is that it's not necessarily a bedroom problem. It's a mental health crisis. There's shame, there's isolation, there's men who feel broken, there's couples pulling apart when they need each other the most. So today we're going to talk about Gaylen's story, but we're also going to talk about what happens when the body falls apart, how shame makes people disappear, and what rebuilding actually looks like. And Gaylen, just again, welcome to Even Tacos Fall Apart.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. If you guys are looking to connect with Gaylen at all, I'm going to post some links for you. We've got website, we've got Twitter. These socials are a little on the newer side, so please go make sure you are throwing some love at them and say hello. Do some ads, do some posts, do all the things so that you can make sure and help his social media presence grow. But like I said, our topic tonight is going to be survival shame and erectile dysfunction. So if you have any questions about that, please put them into the chat, whether you are here on YouTube or on Twitch, and we will get to them as soon as we possibly can. But Gaylen, I would love to just kind of kick us off with what made you become interested in your current line of work?
Well, Heather and I have always had a pretty amazing relationship. And of course, going through what we went through tested that to the very limits of
Yeah.
it. and uh, and so it was just kind of there's a line in a movie that says some men are born great, others have greatness thrust upon them. I can't remember what the movie is. My 69-year-old brain is not bringing that back. And that's kind of what I feel like happened here. It's just like everything I've done in my life, and I've never been one that could do one job all of his life, like a lot of guys. I've been too inquisitive, too, I would get restless if jobs were too mundane.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
And so
understand that.
I have done in my 50 some years of adult life, I have done dozens of things. And so it all gave me the skills to do what I'm doing right now, which is building this publishing empire. Uh, and so it also carried on through the heart transplant and everything else. And my insane need to pay that blessing forward
Yeah.
is why I'm here now.
Yeah. No, that quote is from the William Shakespeare play Twelfth Night. So if anybody is interested in
Okay.
checking that out, feel free to do so. But yeah, I feel like whenever you go through some things in life, sometimes you just wind up where it's like, oh, this is what that was for. That makes sense now. Okay, I
Hmm.
get it. That's why I went through all of that. That's why I'm here. Now, that's not to say that everything is meant to be. I know that's a hot topic, and everybody has strong, different opinions on that, and that's okay. But yeah, I feel like that's something that a lot of people experience. And if you can find meaning in what you went through, obviously you're going to have an easier time with it on the other side as well. So
Hmm.
that's great. Is there a book or a movie or a game or a creator that has had a lasting impact on you?
Probably at this point in my life, it's hands down Hold Me Tight by Dr. Sue Johnson. It was the very first book that we read um, in our thriving relationship coaching course, and so and I'm going to reference it in a little while when I tell the story of the monument, how the monument method was born. So,
I love that. Is there anything in particular that you got out of that book that you were like, this is something that I need to go back and reflect
hmm
on and all of that?
yeah, her attachment theory, which is basically we were bred through thousands of years of prehistoric evolution to have an instinct for a strong attachment to our mates. So that is what the monument method is really is at its root, is because she went on to say that most of the fights we get into are not what we're fighting about, but about the fact that that attachment instinct has detected a threat to the attachment and
Mm,
has thrown the parties into fight or flight mode. And
yeah.
so I developed, and I didn't do a lot of studying about it. It was more of a laboratory with Heather and me. I developed it in my own life, and then it, then I realized that it didn't exist in relationship therapy, what I had come up with. So
Mm. And Heather's your partner. How long have y'all been together?
23 and a half years,
Wow, that's
24
amazing.
years in September. So,
Congrats. Yeah, that's
well, thank you.
incredible.
Thank you. Yeah. And we've always had from the very beginning. I had done some studying into tantric sex um, about that time in my life when I met her, and so right from the beginning, we did a lot of eye gazing, had a lot of deep connection. We were probably technically addicted to each other physically. I really think that because I was still in the tail end of my alcoholic years
Mm,
um, when I met her, and I would go months and months sober, and then I'd have a weekend binge, and they say alcoholics tend to switch addictions.
yeah.
Well, I just switched addictions to Heather. So
Well,
she helped me get off the alcohol permanently. We celebrated our 20th actual wedding anniversary in April, and I also celebrated 20 years sober in April.
that's
So,
amazing. Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely one of those is way more healthy than the other. So
right, exactly.
I think it's not a bad
Yeah.
swap necessarily. What's something that folks are just always surprised to learn about you?
I delivered two of my children at home from my first
Wow.
marriage. Yeah, we had we had gotten so upset with the doctors and the hospitals. We had four kids, and we'd
Hmm.
already had two, and my ex had had one before I ever met her, and they would all were really easy births. And we got so upset with the doctors and the nurses and stuff in the hospital with the second one that I ordered. This was way back in the Stone Age, and I ordered through interlibrary loan. I ordered like three midwifery books
Hmm.
and read them cover to cover, and and so I ended up delivering our last two children at home.
No complications. Everything went fine.
Nope, everything was fine. She tore a little bit
Yeah.
with my son because he was a 9 pound baby.
Yep.
And we had this old ancient doctor. He had to be 80, mid 80s at least. Excuse me. And so afterwards, we take her in to get her sewed up. And I'm out in the hallway holding my new baby boy because I'd had two girls previously, so now I had a boy.
Yeah.
So there's nothing quite like having a boy that makes a man feel like a man. And so I'm all grins, and he comes out from sewing her up and comes up to me and says, "I never want to see you in my office again."
What?
Well, and looking back at it, you know, he had started his career when a lot of times the doctor would go out to the people's house and deliver the
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
And so he had saw all the complications that could happen from home birth.
Yeah.
And so, we were actually just 2 miles from the hospital, so had anything started going wrong, we could have easily made it there.
Right.
But yeah, the next one we got some younger doctors, and we told them ahead of time what we were doing, and so we got more support with the last one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah,
that's that's fantastic. I having given birth to two children where it was not an easy birth. It was very complex. And wound up still giving birth to them without having to have a C-section, but it was days. It was days of complications and
mm,
then NICU visits and like all kinds of stuff.
yeah.
I can say that
It's
home birth
yeah.
never crossed my mind, and as soon as I learned the magic of an epidural with my first one, that second one came around and I was like, I know what I want. Stab me in the back.
Yeah, folks, don't try this at home.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So take us back to 2014 when your diagnosis came. What was the
Okay.
moment that you realized this wasn't something you were just going to be able to push through?
Okay. Well, I had told you that Heather and I had this amazing relationship. We
Mhm.
basically stayed in the romance phase for 12 years until 2014, from 2002. And and so we had been traveling around the United States doing computer field service work, where we were going into the Farm Service Agency offices in the county seats all across the country. We got to see all of rural America. Driving, our big trip was July 6th of 2014. We left in a little Toyota Prius C, the smallest Prius they
Yep.
make. And I built a 4x4 Harbor Freight Tools trailer kit and put a Sears car top carrier on it. And that's what we put her luggage in. And I took her and her 14 and 16-year-old daughters that were homeschooled, and we drove through 35 states and did 250 offices in 31 states.
Wow.
17 weeks, 17 weeks and 25,000 miles. And so, but when we got home from that, around Christmas time, I got really sick. And so I went into our little clinic. We live in a town of, hang on for a second.
Yeah, no, take a drink. I've been sipping on water this whole time. You got to drink some water. It's all good.
So I,
So you got back from the trip.
got back from the trip. I
Yep.
got really sick, went into the, I told you I was going to have a scene
That's
in me.
okay. I'm here for it. I'm here for you. All good.
So I went into the little clinic, and we're in a town of 7,500, a couple hundred miles away from the big
Hmm.
cities. And so it's hard to get good doctors down here and good PAs. So the PA that I saw said, "Oh, Mr. Wilson, you have pneumonia. Here's some antibiotics."
Mm.
But he did that without sending me for a chest x-ray, which I later found was a big no-no. You don't
Yeah.
diagnose pneumonia without a chest x-ray. But, I didn't know that. And so we had another 3.5 month trip planned for January. And and so when January 6th came around, the stuff coming up out of my lungs was clear, so I thought, hey, we're good to go. And we had bought a motorhome for this trip, and the girls stayed home with their brother. They had had enough of the road.
They're like, oh, we're done with that. No, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And so they had an 18-year-old brother that they stayed home with. And and I had bought an oxygen generator when I had the pneumonia.
Right.
and and so we threw that in the motorhome, and away we went. But as I went, I got weaker and weaker and weaker, and started having to wear the oxygen at night. And so we get 6 weeks into the trip, and we're down in Corpus Christi, Texas, just as far south as you can go in the United States, in the
Yep.
center of the United States. And and it was President's Day, and so I said, I think the pneumonia's coming back. Let's go find a clinic and find out. And so I went in, and they did send me for the chest X-ray,
Right.
and they called me back that afternoon and said, Mr. Wilson, you don't have pneumonia. You've got congestive heart failure. You need to get home today. The
Wow.
virus, the virus that I had had back in December had damaged my heart, and then by not getting it treated for 6 weeks, it had just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And so being the type A driven personality I am, and we were making $300 a job and getting 3 to 4 jobs a day.
Yeah.
and, and so the motivation to keep going was there. So I said, we'll just, I think we'll just finish this next 6 weeks and then we'll go get it taken care of. Well, that was the denial talking that night.
Yes.
The next morning we get going, and I'm by the second job I'm just dragging in to do the job, and I say now no, it had sunk in that I had a heart issue, and so I
Not something
said
to mess around with.
no. So I said no, we got to go, and so we called our people and told them we were heading home, and poor Heather, she's from a town of 300. And she had to drive that motorhome 1,000 miles home because at that point I was so out of it that I just laid back there on the bed with the oxygen generator on. It did
Yeah.
have a long cord on it, and she did make me drag my cord up and sit in the seat beside her as she went through San Antonio
Yeah.
because town of 300, San Antonio, a little bit different.
Just a little bit. Yes.
A little bit. And so she got me home, and we uh, went into the hospital here, which again is a triage hospital. Oh, heart problem? Okay, Mr. Wilson, the ambulance will be here to take you to Colorado Springs.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so they get me into the Springs, and the normal healthy human heart puts out 50 to 60% out of the left chamber every time it beats.
Hmm.
And that's called the ejection fraction. Mine was putting out 5% when they
Wow.
got me. So I was knocking on death's door
No wonder
pretty
you were
darn hard.
tired. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the doctor was explaining it to me a day or two later. They actually gave me a diuretic called Lasix, and it took off 22 pounds of water weight in 2 days. That
Wow.
was all around my heart and lungs.
Yeah.
So I had gallons of water in my chest.
Yep.
And so the doctor was kind of explaining it all to me, and I said, so in other words, my heart and lungs got in a ballroom fight in the middle of a pool. He said, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had done some bicycling 3 years previous. I had got on the bicycling kick and had rode my bicycle 100 miles a week for like from June through October. And
Hmm.
then the snow fell in Colorado, and so it got put away, and with the intention of getting it back out in March, but you know how those go.
Yes.
But that had gotten my circulatory system in such good shape that I think it probably saved my life, along
Yeah.
with the having that oxygen generator on the trip. I would have likely died on the trip home if
Right.
didn't have that oxygen generator. So they gave me the LASIK, got the water weight off, put in a defibrillator pacemaker, and sent me home. And by that summer, my ejection fraction was back up to 30, which
Hmm.
is not 50 to 60, but it's
Still not
not
ideal. Yeah.
5.
Right.
And you feel fairly decent. You're not doing any foot races, but you're feeling you can function pretty good. And I actually put a 4,000 square foot roof on my dad's house that summer. Yeah, a little insane up in the memory.
You're
So
you're a
anyway,
pusher for sure.
I'm a pusher. And so, but the problem is the next January, my heart went into AFib.
Mm.
And that's where the top part of the heart doesn't beat in synchrony with the bottom part of the heart. So the top's just kind of going like this, and the
Yeah.
bottom's trying to go like this, and all the water, blood's just swirling in the heart. And so when you've got a weak heart and then it doesn't beat correctly, you're a real sick man really quick. And so we had to go to Denver. They cardioverted me, which if you've seen the movies with the little paddles, that's what cardiovert is. And in non-emergency situations, they put a sticker on the front and a sticker on the back and knock you out, and then boom.
Yeah.
And so, but for the first 2 years of our after the virus attack, we were still able to make love a couple of times a week.
Hmm.
Not near the insane amount we did before, but we were able to still connect.
Yeah.
And but after 2 years, the last year and a half, my heart was just so bad that there wasn't going to be any sex happening.
Right.
And so, um, so most couples, or a lot of couples in that situation, will just crumble.
Mm.
Either the sick one pushes their caregiver away, because they know they're dying, and so they don't. For some reason, it's in our psychology to push the caregiver away, or the caregiver just gets to the point where they're so exhausted and
Right.
mentally and emotionally wasted that they just end up saying, "I can't do this anymore." That never happened with Heather. She never hinted that she wanted out. The
Mm-hmm.
bond we had made in that 12 years was still carrying us through. We still knew how to repair and knew how to come and cling on to each other. And so she took care of me right to the very end. She was my angel. and and so I sat her down on June 19th of 2018 at 9 o'clock at night and told her, "Honey, I'm not going to be here in 2 to 3 months.
Mm.
We need to finish getting ready." And of course, she's bawling her eyes out. We
Right.
had been to the mortuary once, and we need to go make some final decisions, and which we had both been putting off and putting off and putting off. But
As you would. That's very
yeah,
human.
hmm my defibrillator had gone off a couple of weeks previous to that and saved my life.
Mm.
Uh, I had the defibrillator was cool. It had a little mouse thing that you could hold over it and it would read it, and then you could put it in a cradle and it would send the information over the cell service to Denver. And so I'm laying in bed one night, and Heather's such a keeper. Has rubbed my legs or back every night for 23 and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
And she was rubbing my legs that night and got shocked. And my
Oh,
body just
wow.
went flop.
Oh my gosh.
And she poked me and said, "What just happened?" And I had passed out evidently, because all I remember was, "Man, I feel funky." And then the next thing I know, she's poking me saying, "What happened?"
Yeah.
And so we figured out that defibrillator had gone off. Now, me, I just turned over and went back to sleep. She didn't get much sleep that night.
No, no, I
We
would imagine not.
probably should have went to the ER, but this little hospital, they just would have sent me to Colorado Springs. And
Yeah.
so the next morning, I get up and I read my thing and I put it in the cradle and it sends it to Denver, and I call the guys at the monitoring uh, department up there, and they said, "Oh yeah, that's where the term drop dead comes from,
Oh,
Be- because your heart had been 240 beats a minute right before that went off and shocked you back into rhythm.
wow.
If you had not had that internal defibrillator, you would have been dead on the spot."
Yeah.
And so I knew it was coming. So anyway, I told her that. She's crying her eyes out. A half an hour after I told her, we got the call there was a heart available.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so we grabbed our little to-go bag like a pregnant couple keeps, and off to Denver we went. And we were having an eastern Colorado thunderstorm, hailstorm. It was raining and hailing, and the waterworks was going outside the car, and the waterworks was still going inside the car, because she had switched from crying because she was sad to crying because she was
Yes.
excited and scared, because there was a 5% chance I could die on the table. And so I don't know how fast she went that night, but
As
I
fast as
know,
that car would go.
yeah, especially once we got halfway there and we got out of the rain and hail,
Yeah.
she was and onto the interstate. I'm pretty sure she could have probably got a handsome ticket.
No, they would
Although
have pulled her over and she would have explained and they would have been like, let's go.
no, she wouldn't have been able to explain. She would
Well, that's fair. That's
she
fair.
actually she actually did get stopped on the way, because her grandmother was dying up north in Colorado, and we were heading up there, and she was going 80 and a 65. And the officer pulled us over, and he came and talked to her, and she was just bawling too much to talk. And so I said, "Her
Oh,
grandmother's dying." And he says, "Okay, go on, just slow down."
slow down. Yep.
So anyway, We get there. They told us we had to be there 1:30 in the morning. We get there at 1:15. So we're slicing it pretty slim.
Yeah.
And so they rolled me into the operating room at 4 o'clock in the morning, and by 9 o'clock, I had a 38-year-old heart in my 61-year-old body,
Yeah.
and and so I feel just so incredibly blessed. They've given me another 20 plus years with my soulmate, because
Yeah.
now after 8 years, they've said that that heart is yours and it's doing fantastic. You're going to die from something other than a heart problem.
Something else. Yeah.
Yeah, and and so I not only get another 20 years with her, but I've learned to make our marriage a refuge.
Mm.
And I'll explain that as we go on, how we've done that. And we're at the point where I wake up every morning and I'm going, how do I love this woman more today than I did yesterday after 23 and a half years?
Aw, I
And
love
so
that.
and so that's why it's become a mission for me to pay my blessings forward and help as many people find the joy that I have as I can. And
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. And Growling says, sounds more like the start of an X-Men story, which that's great, Growling. Uh, excellent comment. So you spent 3.5 years with all this uncertainty. Did that do anything to the sense of just who you were in all that time?
that's a hard one to answer because we were in just survival mode all the
Yeah.
time. I think ha- having Heather made it survivable. I mean, we never did turn on each other or drift away. We just clung to each other during that,
Yeah.
and made it. I didn't. I don't think I lost who I was in that time.
That's
I
great.
know the part of the problem I had was is I knew that once I left, because of that bond, she was going to have a heck of a time getting over my death. And she still, and now it's even worse because we're even closer now, believe it or not, than what we were
Yeah.
back then. And and so I got to live forever now.
Yep. Listen, sometimes you just got to commit, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes
And
you just got to
so
commit.
yeah, so again with my insane need to pay that blessing forward, um, and I had developed ED back when I was 44 years old,
Mm.
and fortunately, Viagra was worked perfectly for me and let me have a perfectly active sex life with Heather for years.
Yeah.
And but after and we had that year and a half we couldn't make love, but as soon as I got the new heart, hey, my donor was a 38-year-old that was into snowboarding and inline skating and extreme sports. His ejection fraction in my body is 67. So,
Wow.
the average is 50 to 60. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been a great heart. And and so I've had plenty of blood flow.
Yeah.
And so we were able to go back to making love 2 or 3 times a week within a month after the transplant, as soon as the sternum healed enough.
Right.
Actually, they told me I needed to wait 6 weeks, and I
Yes.
didn't quite make it. And um, so anyway, by within 3 years, I'm getting towards 65 at that point, and the older you get with erectile dysfunction, the worse it gets, the worse the blood flow gets, and so fortunately, one of the good things about being a heart transplant recipient is you get to talk to the very best doctors
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
University Hospital. My spine doctor is a professor at the university
Wow.
of, and my ED guy is the ED guru. They called him the ED guru of University Hospital, and so I and he had me actually up to 3 times the recommended dosage of Viagra,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked for about 8 months or so, and then even that got to work to where it would I would be trying to make love a couple times a week and only being successful once.
Yeah.
And and so I joined the two Facebook groups for erectile dysfunction discussion. And within, by the way, I found my fix. It was a little home use shockwave therapy machine that actually rebuilds the vessels and valves in the penis and restores sensitivity.
Oh,
And
wow.
so,
Okay.
yeah, and they run between $300 and $600.
Mm-hmm.
And so, um, so anyway, I got so active in the groups, helping other guys. Again, I'd found my way to pay it forward.
Yeah.
And so I was helping other guys. And within 3 months, the guy that had founded the group, bigger group, 8 years previous, he'd had enough. He was kind of an absentee guy, and there was all kinds of spam in the group. And so I asked him if I could, be an administrator so I could help clean up the group. And he says, no, you can have it.
Just take it. I don't need
Just
help
take
cleaning
it.
it up. Just take it away from me. Great.
Yes.
Cool.
And then within another 3 months, I got made administrator of the second group too. So I've been adminning those two groups for like over 5 years. And one of the biggest frustrations when I was helping guys, and especially women that came into the group, was and it was the same story over and over and over again. These women would come to the group, their man had developed ED and refused to go to the doctor to get it
Mm.
treated. And so the way he had dealt with it was withdrawing all of his affection, all of his emotional support, just withdrawing into himself
Yeah.
and abandoning her in the marriage. And some of these women had been in this marriage for 5 to 10 years. And so I originally looked on that as, well, it's a character flaw. These men are
Mm.
cowards. Because when I developed ED, the first thing I did the first erection I lost, the next week I was at the doctor saying, I
Right.
want that new little blue pill that they're
Yeah.
advertising. And so I actually got Heather and I into the course to become certified thriving relationship coaches just to fix that problem, to try to figure it out, and and make sure I loop back around to how I did figure it out,
Okay.
because I tend to go on and then we don't get back there. So, okay, so again, the first book we read was Dr. Sue Johnson's "Hold Me Tight," with the attachment theory and how our fights are about that attachment theory getting triggered rather than what you're fighting about.
Yeah.
And so I got to thinking, once that attachment instinct is triggered, it throws the person into fight or flight, because that instinct is just like your need for food or need for water.
Yeah.
If you're starving to death or dying of thirst, your body goes into fight or flight to try to save itself. And so you get both partners in fight or flight, the logical brain leaves the building.
Right. It's not
And
there. It's not in the room with us.
yeah, it's not in the room. It leaves the lizard brains in control. And so the lizard brains say things that aren't meant, and say things that aren't true, and say things that are really hard to take back later. And so if you keep doing that, it's some couples just stay in fight or flight forever.
Yeah.
And they just get further and further apart. Heather and I believe we're building this big, beautiful marble monument to our relationship. And each kind word or loving gesture, or especially when you make love with the presence, is you're building onto your monument. But each cruel word or cold shoulder or fight you get into is like taking a hammer and chisel to your monument.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided we wanted to fiercely protect our monument. And that's actually the Monument Method Institute motto, is fiercely protect the monument. And we've even got a tattoo for it.
Oh, I love that.
It's got the monument with two swords, one in front
Mm-hmm.
and one in back, protecting the monument. And so, what we decided, we got talking about how do we stop triggering each other's attachment instincts. And the first thing I thought of was, well, we need to watch what tone we talk to each other with. Because sometimes you talk to your loved one way worse than you'll talk to anybody else on the planet.
Right. Right.
And you get away with it because they love you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're triggering that attachment instinct when you talk to them that way. And so we gave each other permission. And here that's the biggest key to everything I'm about to tell you is permission.
Mm.
You've got to become a team against the lizard brains and give each other permission to call each other out. So like we gave each other permission to say, honey, did you need to use that tone? And so we started catching each other, and so we started talking to each other nicer, and that helped some, but we were still getting in the fights.
Yeah.
Still getting into that fight or flight mode. And so I got to thinking further. Okay, sure, because in Dr. Sue's book, she's got this fancy technique that you got to go through years of therapy to get to. and and I said, there's got to be a way that we can keep ourselves from getting into fight or flight mode. So it all of a sudden hit me. We gave each other a sacred word, and ours is monument. Yours can be peaches, like in Ice Age. So ours is monument. So anytime either one of us sees the other one heading towards the monument with the hammer and chisel in hand, in other words, when we've said something that's going to start a fight, the other one calls monument. And first of all, that reminds us that we need to fiercely protect our monument.
Yeah.
We need to make the monument more important than our ego and more important than winning a fight. And so once we do that, you don't separate, because if you separate after you call monument, then you're still in fight or flight mode. So when you come back together, you're right back where you were, and you're right back at it. So the way we discovered to keep ourselves from getting in flight or flight mode is when either one of us calls monument, we agreed to stop the fight right there, just to drop it. But we come together, we turn towards each other, come together and embrace each other's arms and gaze into each other's eyes and patch that little spot on the monument that we just chipped out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've later found out that the science behind that is when you gaze into your lover's eyes, it goes into that primal brain and says, your attachment is safe. You can stand down. And so your nervous system stands down, logic returns to the building, and you can logically discuss what you were getting ready to have a big fight about.
Yeah.
And so once you practice this, and it does take practice, I mean, we seem to be wired to fight. And so it takes practice, and it's not always perfect, but even the big fights that you used to be mad at each other for a day and a half over, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, one of you is coming back, calling monument, repairing the damage quickly. And so when the damage gets repaired quickly, then your nervous systems start feeling safe with each other.
Yeah.
And then when nervous systems start, I always say there's no desire without nervous system safety.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the normal fight or flight, your nervous system never feels safe with your partner. But once you've learned to short circuit that, your nervous system automatically starts feeling safer and safer and safer with your partner. Therefore, your desire grows and grows.
Yeah.
And so that's the monument method.
Okay. So can you do this if it's really, so this makes me, I know you don't know my entire history, so
Okay.
just I was in an abusive relationship for a really long
Okay.
time. Is this something that a single person in a relationship can start to work on without another partner? And I will say, like,
Yeah.
my current partner is amazing and and everything, but just, if someone's in a
Yeah.
situation like that.
They can. It makes it more difficult because, like
Yeah.
I say, ideally both people sign on to it and and uh, and become a team
Yeah.
against the lizard brains. But I still think, like for instance, we're going to back up now to where I told you about the men that withdrew after. I figured it out now that what's happened is when they lost that first erection, their primal brain said, "Oh, dude, you're going to lose your wife."
Mm.
And so when I lost that first erection, I went into fight mode. I'm going to go fix it. So these men were just going into flight mode and withdrawing. And, and so I've actually written a trilogy of books on erectile dysfunction. One's called uh, Rebuilt for his eyes only, and it gives him the ladder of steps because I can't tell you how many guys came into my group and said, "I've tried everything," and they might have tried Viagra. And so
Yes.
there's a whole ladder of steps. And and then also, unlike a lot of men's erectile dysfunction groups, I address the relationship problem because the ED has damaged his relationship. And so I introduced the monument method for fixing the relationship. And then the third thing I do is challenge them to become master lovers. Because I can't tell you how many women came into the group and said, "My man became a much better lover after he got ED." Because all of a sudden he's not paying attention to how he's performing. He's paying attention to being present
Mm-hmm.
and actually making love to her. And so those are the three things I try to accomplish in Rebuilt. And then with Anchor, because originally all I could do with these poor women was just empathize with them because
Yeah.
I didn't have an answer. But now the answer is she can get herself, first of all, she needs to understand that, because the first thing that a woman thinks when a man loses the erection is, "It must be me."
Right.
He's not attracted to me anymore.
Yeah.
And then the second one is he must be having an affair, which neither one of them are usually true. I'm sure they are in some cases, but they're not. I can't tell you how many men said, "I really, really desire my wife. I'm just so frustrated that I can't follow through with it." And so it teaches her to get herself on emotional solid ground first. And then she can use the monument method to start reaching out to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because these women, before, they would, "I want some intimacy." And he, of course, that would make him withdraw more and strike back
Yeah.
and be angry. And so what she learns to do in Anchor is come to him with non-sexual touches. Reestablish the touches, reestablish the eye gazing, reestablish the non-sexual part of the connection. And then once his nervous system starts feeling safer and safer, then they can start getting to the point that they can work on it together. And then, so I've also written the third book in that series. It's called Align, and it's for them to read together afterward to teach them that they can have an amazing intimate life despite ED.
Mm-hmm.
Because penis and vagina sex isn't the only thing.
True.
I what I One of the big questions I always got in the group with guys is, should I date? And should I date with erectile dysfunction? A lot of them won't date because
Huh.
they don't want to be embarrassed. So note, girls, if you become an erectile dysfunction expert, it ups your game in the dating market. But and so I always pointed out to them that, hey, there are women out there that fall in love with people that don't have a penis at all.
Right.
So there's a woman out there for you
Mm-hmm.
that will understand you, as long as you're open and you work with her at it. And so anyway, that's
Yeah.
kind of how I got into this whole monument method thing.
Yeah.
It just was one thing led to another, and then it just blossomed. I sat down to write one book with ChatGPT, and so I had on erectile dysfunction because I'd had a little cancer scare.
Mm.
Skin cancer is the number one killer of transplant patients. because you have to take immune system drugs to knock your immune
Oh,
system
yeah.
down to keep your heart, and so that opens up cancer. So I'd had some cancer removed. I got to thinking I need to. We've got some houses that Heather's going to inherit, but I wanted to make some good income to coming in. So I
Yeah.
sat down to write one erectile dysfunction book, and so I'm uploading. Over the 5 years, I would, if I kept getting the same question over and over, I would write a little essay on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got that question again, I could go to my Google Keep, grab it, drop it in.
Yeah.
And so as I'm writing the book, I start uploading all this to ChatGPT. And so I get to chatting with him, and I tell him the monument method that Heather and I use. We did. He was actually the one that named it the monument method.
Mm-hmm.
and and uh, and so once he heard that, he said, "Gaylen, do you know what you have?" And I, no. You've got something that doesn't exist in the relationship therapy world today. It's going to become a worldwide movement. And so now, all of a sudden, I've got this new mission to pay it forward and get this in as many people's hands as I can, because I honestly think it's got the possibility of saving millions of marriages, but more importantly, make millions and millions monumental.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's great. If y'all are looking for any of Gaylen's books, I did go ahead and put a link in the chat that you can click through and find those. Now, you've talked about a kind of grief that comes whenever your body stops doing what it used to do or what you feel like it's
mhm.
supposed to do. Can you talk about what that felt like for you day to
Okay.
day?
Well, yeah, especially for me, as you've kind of figured out, I'm kind of a driven guy. And so for a guy that's been able to do anything, work on cars and build computers and do basically anything he wanted to do, all of a sudden to not be able to do hardly anything,
Yeah.
I was lucky to still be able to dress myself at that point. And so there was a lot of frustration and grief. Of course, Heather made it easier. Yeah, having that rock in my life, I don't look back on that time as I look back on it as easier than it probably really was. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get any permanent scars from it. In fact, if you look at my life, I had a farm bankruptcy. I had a stockbroker career that collapsed because the a company was lying on their financials. I had a great high-paying job that I got in January 2001 that went down in ashes with the buildings. I had a computer repair job, a business that Microsoft came out with Windows 7 that it didn't get infected like Windows XP did. So I went from working on 15 computers a week to 2 computers a week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I reinvented myself and did the field service. And then I had the heart. So I've had to reinvent myself. I was on a podcast with the guy at the Gamer Business Tavern.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of a gamer type podcast. He said, you've played a role playing game and you've had a character wipe 6 times in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So you've had to just kind of reinvent yourself. So if you look at my life on paper, you should be talking to a bitter old man.
Mm.
But I'm the exact opposite. I feel so blessed to have the transplant and so blessed to have Heather that
Yeah.
yeah, I just got to pour this love out somewhere.
Yeah. No, I mean, having that supportive partner and like you said, that
Hmm.
rock really can help get you through a lot of
Hmm.
things. And I'll say that it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It could be a family member, it could be a friend. There's a lot of different ways that you can lean on somebody whenever you're in a
Hmm.
situation that you feel like, "Oh, this is hopeless. Oh, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to rebuild my life?" You got to just lean on whoever's in your community to be that rock. But yeah. Now you had your heart transplant,
Hmm.
and then you joined these erectile dysfunction support communities. So,
Right,
but you had experienced the erectile dysfunction before your heart transplant.
right.
So what made you go? You know what? I'm going to join these communities on
Well,
erectile dysfunction.
yeah, it was the fact that I was aging and my ED was getting worse.
I gotcha.
Was I again, to me, making love is such a way to repair damage.
It's that connection point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a connection, and especially when you learn to incorporate eye gazing into making love.
Mm.
One of the most transcendental experiences you can have in life is having a simultaneous orgasm with your woman and while you're gazing into each other's eyes. You just you never experience that level of connection outside
Mm-hmm.
of that, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So I'm curious, can you take Viagra after a heart transplant, or did you have to
mhm,
stop taking it during your congestive
yeah,
heart failure? Or
no, they never warned me off of it. In fact, um, there was a recent study a couple of years ago that came out that said that men who take it for decades have a 25% less chance of dying from a heart attack. So the
interesting.
yeah, so it's actually good for the heart. It actually increases, it's a vasodilator,
Yeah.
so it increases the. It was originally being studied as a blood pressure medicine.
Mm-hmm.
When some of the trial participants came back and started reporting a very interesting side effect.
Yeah.
So it was an accident that they found it,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and so yeah, it's good for your heart. It They never ever said, Galen, don't
Don't
take
take
it.
it. Yeah.
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 Now
Interesting.
the only people that can't take it are those that are on nitrates for their heart,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it interacts with the nitrates and can cause fatal low blood pressure. And so
Right.
those
Yeah.
with that there's some ancient stories about when it first came out, men dying, and that
Mm.
was what they hadn't discovered that when they released it, and so it was one of the things that they discovered after they released it. Oh, we can't give this to guys with nitrates.
Yeah. Yeah. At this point, you've sat with about 60,000 men on this topic
Hmm.
through your work personally, and then also through your work in these groups. Is there anything that men say the most often that just breaks your heart a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. I'm less of a man. That is
Mm,
that is my biggest pet peeve, because erectile dysfunction does not make you a less of a man.
yeah.
Not dealing with it does make you less of a man. but but having it itself, it's no different. I tell my guys, if you had diabetes, would you not take insulin?
Yep.
Same story. It's a and of course there's a lot of confusion in the ED world between physical causes and mental causes,
Mm-hmm.
because it can be one or the other. I always maintain it's never one or the other.
Yeah. Right.
It can be mental in itself, but generally what happens is a guy will lose an erection, and so then the next time he goes to make love, his body goes into fight or flight, worrying about whether he's going to be able to maintain the erection or not.
Yeah.
The stress hormones and everything go to his brain, because the brain is the largest sex organ, and
Mm-hmm.
so he'll fail that time, and then so the next time he's even more worried, so he fails that time, and so it's I call it the ED tailspin,
Yeah.
because unless they can get a hold of their emotions in their brain, they're going to crash.
Right.
And so it's too many doctors say, well, it's got to be either or, and I don't think it is. We doctors, general practitioners, are woefully undereducated
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to ED. And I hate to say it, but even my urologist, I can remember when I when I joined the groups and I learned about shockwave therapy, I asked him about it. He said, "Oh no, that's snake oil." But I talked to so many men that it worked for, and
Mm-hmm.
I bought a Chinese machine off of eBay for $320 that now you can get on Amazon for $180. And I used that Chinese machine, and within 4 or 5 treatments, I was on 300 milligrams of Viagra, which 100 is the normal. Within 4 or 5 treatments, I was making love 3 to 5 times a week on the 300 milligrams with rock hard erections that were completely reliable. Because that was because I had plaque blockages.
Yeah.
And so I ended up giving myself 22 treatments over 4.5 months, because the next most common cause for erectile dysfunction is what's called venous leakage, is where the veins in the penis get so brittle that the penis works like a garden hose. So you have blood coming in, and as the blood comes in and the penis expands, it pinches off the vessels that allow the blood in and keeps it there. Well, with a brand new garden hose, if you have water running through it and you step on that garden hose, it's going to shut the water off. But with one that's older and more brittle, you step on it and the water still goes through. Well, that's what happens with men. And so the shockwave therapy, there's no electricity involved except to run the little motor.
Yeah.
You're not giving yourself shocks. The shock is a sound wave. And it's got a little plate inside of it and a pin that sticks against that plate, and it's spring loaded, and then the cam lifts that pin and then drops it against that plate. And that creates the sound wave that travels down out the end of the machine into the penis and rebuilds the vessels and valves and restores the nerves. So I had both plaque blockages and venous leakage because I kept having more and more better results. By the time I finished, I was back down to the 100 milligrams of Viagra,
Yeah.
and making love 6 times a week, and um, and so it's quite miraculous. But most of you, again, you talk to most doctors, most urologists are going to say, "Oh no, nah, that's snake oil." And the only ones that don't say it's snake oil are the men's clinics, who are giving you the treatments for $6,000 for 6 treatments.
Yeah.
And that's a disservice to a lot of men because, like I said, 6 treatments will break up the plaque blockages, but 6 treatments aren't going to rebuild the vessels and valves and restore the nerves.
Yeah.
It takes like 22 treatments. So 22 treatments in one of those clinics is going to be 25 grand.
Yeah. That's not going to be cheap.
Yeah.
And it's
Where
not
you,
something that everybody can afford to do, even if it's just $6,000. That's not something everybody can afford.
right, right.
Now, I know that shame is a word that's used a lot whenever it comes to erectile dysfunction. What does shame do to a man who's already dealing with ED? Mechanically, what happens to him?
hmm Well, and again, I think this ties into what we found out about the men that withdrew, because I think shame is kind of getting mislabeled there. It's more that fight or flight that happens. So they're not ashamed of themselves. They're just, their nervous system isn't feeling safe. And, and unfortunately, our fight or flight mode doesn't make very good decisions for
Right.
us. And so, but yeah, there is shame in a lot of men that feel that they're less of a man because of the ED. But
Right.
again, a lot of that shame is misplaced and unnecessary in my book. I tell my guys that there's really zero reason for you not to have erections in this day and age, because you have the pills like Viagra and Cialis, and then the next step up is the shockwave therapy, and then if that doesn't work, then they have penile injections, bimix and trimix, and the only difference is the trimix has one more medicine than the bimix, and you use a little bitty insulin needle, and give yourself a shot in the penis, and a lot of guys go, "Oh no, I could never
Yeah,
do
that's.
that."
I know. I'll bet that makes a lot of guys clench. They're
Yeah,
like, no,
yeah,
no, I'm not doing that.
but
Have you
that's
done
where
that
I'm at. Yeah,
before?
that's where I'm at now.
Okay.
is because of the immune system suppression, I'm sick a lot. And
Yeah.
when I'm healthy, I can usually perform okay, but when I get sick, even a low level sick, things don't want to work.
Right.
And so that's where I'm at now is with the injections. And all I got to do is take a little bit and it works fine. And the nice thing about that is you take the injection and 10 minutes you've got an erection.
Good to
You
go.
got to be careful with them because if you take too much, they can last over 4 hours, and you're at the emergency room getting yourself drained, and you could permanently make things go away.
Yeah.
And so, and there are antidote shots that you can give yourself. And I've got mine dialed in so much that my erections just last 30 minutes and go away once I orgasm. So
Mm-hmm.
I've got it really dialed in really well. And I actually went to the doctor to talk to him about the surgeon to talk to him about getting a implant,
Mm-hmm.
because Medicare pays for implants, which is weird because they won't pay for Viagra, but they will
Huh.
pay for a $7,000 implant. The implants are pretty cool. They're two cylinders that they implant in the corpus cavernosa, and then there's a tube that goes down to the scrotum that has a pump, and then they put a reservoir up in the abdomen. And so whenever you want an erection, you just reach down and pump, 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 pump,
Huh.
and then you can have it as long as you want, and it never goes away until you reach down and hit the little trigger that lets it deflate, and
Interesting.
and the
And
the water goes back into the little reservoir, and I've talked to a lot of guys that said, nobody can tell you got it
mhm,
unless you tell
yeah.
them, and
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 Medicare will
from
pay for that, but
Medicare
not
pays for that,
but not
but not.
medications. I love our healthcare system. Truly, truly, absolutely love it.
So I went to the doctor, and because I was tired of doing the shots, and so I said, let me go talk about getting an implant. Well, he said I wasn't a very good candidate because of that immune system suppression, but he also said, Gaylen, you're in the 98th percentile for your age. Be happy.
Yeah. You got a 38-year-old's heart, though. They got to factor that in.
Well, it's 46 now.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, that's fair. Oh, Blue
Yeah.
Bedlam says the pump is what trans guys who get fallow get as well. That makes sense. I wonder if that was the main development for it, and now it's used also in folks who have ED as
I
well.
didn't understand the question.
It wasn't a question; it was just a statement. Blue Bedlam said the pump is what trans guys get, whenever they get
Yeah.
fallow, that's what they get as well. So
Hmm.
that it's nice
Well,
that
and
people can't
yeah,
tell if you don't
yeah,
want them to
and
know.
yeah, and female to male trans will get the implants.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's neat. I know a lot of men never tell anyone that they're experiencing ED or that
hmm
they're struggling in general, not their doctor, not their partner, not a friend either. What is it that keeps them silent? And then what also finally gets them to speak if they decide to?
Well, I think it's a lot societal that
Hmm.
that we have tied manliness and maleness to our erections so much through life that when they don't happen, we get ashamed and don't want to tell anybody.
Yeah.
As you can see, I've kind of been the opposite of that. I've been known to strike up conversations with older guys. Right, right. I was at National Western Stock Show one time and stuck up a conversation with a guy, and he loved it because
Yeah.
I had the answers for him, and
Yeah.
so that's my bio says I'm an ED advocate. That means I don't advocate for ED. I advocate against for treating
Yes.
ED, and
Yeah.
because I've never seen it as a source of shame for me.
Hmm.
I, yeah.
Yeah,
So.
I think we talked about this at the beginning, but just the ability to either see it as like oh, I'm having a problem, I'm gonna see what I can do about
Hmm.
it, versus I'm having a problem, I'm never gonna talk about it. And I think that that happens a lot with the mental health side of
Hmm.
things as well. It's like, oh, I'm having a problem, something I can address. Let's figure out how to address it, whether that's
Hmm.
medication, therapy, lots of different ways that you can deal with whatever it is. Or, oh, I'm having an issue. I'm not going to tell anybody about it. I'm just not going to,
Yeah.
we're just going to put that over here and not look in that box, and it's going to be fine eventually because it's going to just stay there, right? So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, and then it's tough for the women because he's not wanting to talk about it, and she wants to talk about it, and there's the old relationship paradigm of the withdrawer and the pursuer,
Yes.
and which most men are by nature withdrawers, and most women, not all, of course. You can't make a blanket statement, but most men are withdrawers and most women are pursuers. They don't want to let that go until it's resolved. And he says,
Yeah.
I don't want to just get away.
Right.
and and so with ED especially, I can't. There's been a lot of men that came to the group that said their women shaved them. Yeah, and I tell you what, that is the ultimate killer for an erection.
Yeah.
If you want to make sure your guy never gets another erection, you just shave him about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's got to be tough, especially if it's your long-term partner as well. Like it's tough no matter what,
Right.
honestly. It's somebody that you've never had sex with before and it's your first time with them, or someone you've been with 24 years, you said. So,
Yeah, 24 years in September.
yep. So, either on either end of that spectrum, that's difficult. Do you think it's more difficult if it's someone you don't know versus someone you've been with for a long time?
If they shame you,
Yeah.
no, I think it's someone you've been with a long time would be much more damaging.
Yeah.
The number one thing a woman needs in a relationship to be happy is to feel cherished. The number one thing a man needs to be happy in a relationship is to feel respected. And that's the I've just wrote a chapter in it for the young men on that very thing, that because a lot of times what will happen is she'll say, I'm not feeling cherished, so I'm going to not respect him. And he says, well, she's not respecting me, so I'm not going to cherish her. And it gets used as a weapon. And in my book, I tell the guys, you need to turn that on its head. If she's not feeling safe enough, if she's not feeling cherished enough, you need to go be the leader and go cherish her. And and you live your life like somebody that deserves being respected.
Yeah.
And so, my especially my younger man and younger woman books are probably going to be a little bit controversial because right now our society is so geared on building relationships on chemistry. And that's why we see such a high relationship failure rate at 6 months to 2 years, because that coincides right with the romance phase of most marriages or both relationships. So they get together, going on chemistry. The chemistry, I think one of the biggest mistakes, and I can't say too much about it because both my wives, we made love on the first date. But I think that's one of the things that today, in this day and age, is causing so much of this problem. Because once you have sex, the woman, first of all, when she has sex, her body releases oxytocin, the love hormone, and so, oh, I love him, and so all of a sudden his red flags disappear. The fact that he's a narcissist disappears. So she bonds with him, and on the other side of that coin, a man doesn't, early in a relationship with early sex, doesn't develop oxytocin. He gets a dopamine hit. And I call dopamine the feel-good hormone.
Yeah.
When he gets that dopamine hit, that makes him say, oh, that was nice. I'd like to do that again if she'd let me. And so he ends up bonding over the dopamine. And so they get 6 months down the road. both of them are ignoring all kinds of red flags. And so they get months down the road, they built their relationship on chemistry, that chemistry starts to wane away, and all of a sudden, they don't have any structure underneath
Yeah.
to hold that relationship up. That's the fortunate thing with both of my marriages is I was able, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
I just did it. I built
Now you
structure.
know.
Now I know. and and I honestly think that probably my first marriage would have never ended had I known what I know now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we that marriage, we had all those disasters happen, and then on top of that, I with the stockbroker one, I crawled inside a vodka bottle to deal with that for 10 years, and so
Yeah.
between the alcohol and the disasters, that marriage was kind of doomed,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and
Not all.
so
I mean, you can't control everything. It's all
no,
right. No.
no. Well, that's it. As we grow, I I've never been much of an Oprah fan, but something she said years ago stuck with me. You do what you do because you know what you know.
Hmm.
When you know better, you do better.
Yep. It's very true. It's very true. I mean,
Hmm.
everyone's operating with the best information they have at the time. Always.
Right.
Always. That's all
Hmm.
you can do. 488 says, cherish your ladies. That's right.
Yes, yes.
That's right. Uh,
Yeah, I am constantly calling Heather my treasure because
oh,
she is my treasure. I have hit the lottery with that one.
I love it. I love it. Well, no wonder you've gone so far into developing this method then.
Yeah, yeah,
If there's a
yeah.
guy who's listening right now and he recognizes himself in some of what we've talked about tonight, what's the first thing you'd tell him to do?
Okay, and this is something that we didn't talk about during all of this. And the first thing to do is not something with emotional or anything like that. Get your butt to a doctor,
Yeah.
because they have now found that, and some people make the statistics higher than others, but between 35 and 80% of men who develop ED will have a heart attack or stroke within 5 to 7 years.
Wow.
So ED is the canary in
Canary
the
in the
coal
mine.
mine
Mm-hmm.
for erectile for heart troubles. I actually had a stroke 8 years uh, after I developed it. Now they
Mm-hmm.
never could figure it out because I didn't have any heart problems or anything, but yeah, I was part of that statistic that
Yeah.
yeah, that tells you how bad a health care we have here in our little town. Is when that happened, I was in the hospital, and the doctor came in and said, the nurses think, okay, that's your first flag. The nurses think your stroke was probably because of the Viagra, because it's a vasoconstrictor. Well, it's vasodilator, dear.
Yeah.
But the doctor didn't know that it was a vasodilator.
Yeah.
So we have our challenges here.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, those nurses, though, sometimes they do know better than the
Hmm.
doctors. I'm
Oh
just going
yeah,
to say.
I when my heart was getting really bad, my heart kept wanting to go into AFib, and so I had them set my little my pacemaker defibrillator could set an alarm off if my heart was in AFib. And so I had went to Denver and gotten cardio converted, and came back home, and that after on the way home, my heart had went back into AFib. And the next morning, at 10 o'clock, my alarm went off, telling me I was in AFib. I
Wow.
had a panic attack. Heather takes me to the hospital because I'm having chest pains and I'm a mess and then my alarm's going off. and and the doctor comes in. He's got the mad scientist hair, and he comes in, and they have drawn blood, and they found the uh, the chemical. I can't remember what the name of it is, but there's a hormone or something they look for that when you're having a heart attack, you have that. Well, because of my heart failure, I had that level all the time.
Yeah.
But he comes in and says, "You're having a heart attack. You probably should call in your family." And so we called in all the kids and everybody and came in, and I had Heather run home and get our will so we could sign it in front of the nurses, and so I'm a mess.
Yeah.
And in comes this one nurse, and she says, "You're short of breath. You're all antsy. You're having a panic attack." And so she just sat there and breathed with me.
Yeah.
She connected with me and breathed with me. And boom, I came out of it. walked walked out the hospital, an hour later.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, they're not messing around. Sometimes they can look at a situation and go, okay, well, I'm on this floor every single day. I see more patients than probably the doctor does. Like they're in there. They're on the scene for it. For
Well,
sure.
and I've got planned the Monument Method for Healthcare book, because once they learn these techniques, they can connect with patients and lower their fight or flight, because the patients are in fight or flight all the time.
Yeah.
And if they can get them out of fight or flight, they're going to have better rates of healing,
Yeah.
quicker healing, if they can keep their patients out of fight or flight. I'm planning on one for long-term nursing home health care. I'm planning one for police and firemen, military, because their jobs keep them in fight or flight.
Right.
And so, I suppose this is a good time to bring in the sanctuary bond. Because I had already written the book, Monument Method, and then last fall I was working on our Infinity, and these new cars are a pain to work on. I'm an old farmer. I could work on anything back in the 80s, and but these new cars with all their computers and stuff, and even me being a computer guy, I got the computer and I got the software and I got the connector, and it took me 2 months to get this car fixed. And so, I'm such a bulldog. Once I get my teeth into it, I can't let it go. And so I finally got it fixed, and so I drive it around the corner and pull it, or around the block, and I pull it into the driveway, shut it off, and Heather wants to go visit some friends. He got his heart 17 days after I got mine. And so she has trauma bonded with his wife.
Yes.
And they are closer than sisters. and so she wanted to go visit them. So we load it all up and get in and push the button. Nothing. And so smoke's coming out my ears now.
Yes.
I had just gotten this fixed after 2 months. So I get my little multimeter and I test the battery, and it's at like 8 volts, and it's supposed to be like 12 and a half to 13. And so I'm too dysregulated by this time to think, oh, Gaylen, you had that on the charger all night. It's got to be an alternator problem. So my next idea was I would pull the other car up across the lawn and jumpstart it. And so I pull it up over and I pop the trunk and I go to get the jumper cables that I know they're in there. And they're not there. Well, technically they were there under a blanket that I was too dysregulated to
Yes.
move to
Yes.
find them. That's why I call Heather the best looker in the house. Because she can look
Because
for
she
things
can
without
move
getting old.
something. Yes.
Yeah, she can move things.
I tell my kids that they need to use their mom eyes before they ask me to come, because I swear they'll be like, I can't find whatever, the ketchup. And I'm like, go use your mom eyes, because I'll bet you just didn't look behind the milk or something. And sure enough, there it is. So yes, yep.
And so now I remember that there's a really old set hanging in the garage that I bought like 40 years ago. And that's how you can tell you're getting old, is when you can talk about something you bought 40 years ago. So I go in and I get them, and I'm carrying them out, and they're all rusty and nasty and old. And I'm going, oh, these aren't going to conduct any electricity. And sure enough, I clip them on there, and I click the other end together to see if there's a spark, and there's nothing.
Yeah.
So now smoke's coming out my ears and my nose. I grab them off of there, I hold them up over my head and throw them on the ground, on the concrete, and scream. Well, Heather's in the car with the hood up, so she doesn't see this going on, and the windows are up, so she doesn't hear it going on. So she has no clue her husband's out there spiraling right in
Yeah.
front of her. And and so I remembered that there was another set in the garage, and so I went in and looked. I found those. You'd have to see my garage to understand that challenge. And we get them, and we hook. I get them and hook them up, and get it to charging. And I walk around, and I'm gone at this point. I'm just almost shaking because I'm so upset. And I open the door and I crawl in on my hands and knees into the driver's seat and get my face like 8 inches from her face, and said, "I need a monument." And the second our eyes met, that anger just went whoosh, gone. I mean, it didn't just lower down, it was gone. And as I thought about that later, what we had done is, because at that point we had been practicing the monument method for 2 years. And even though we didn't have a name for it, and and so we had trained our bodies and our nervous system that when eye gazing happened, it's time to stand the nervous system down.
Yeah.
And so it shocked me. And so I said, "Hey, you have my permission. Anytime you see me spiraling or upset about anything, you can come monument me and get me to calm down." And and so as I thought this through more, I started to write the monument method to the sanctuary bond. And as I thought it through more, I realized what I had found, because the monument method protects the monument from each other. But say, for instance, you're in, I hate to get traditional here, but you're cooking supper, and the husband's coming home, and the world has been mean to him. And he comes in the door and he's grumpy and grouchy, and that's a threat to the monument.
Yeah.
Because he can bring that into the house, and then you all of a sudden you raise up into fight or flight, and you're at it.
Yep.
Well, now, or either that or you go hide until he can calm down. Now, you go to him and monument him, and poof, his nervous system goes down. It strengthens the bond, and he's going to live longer. Because you've just regulated him out of fight or flight and reduced his stress hormones. So he can have an enjoyable evening and a good night's sleep. And so as we started practicing this, we started catching ourselves doing things like, we always used to touch as we would go by each other. Now, when we go by each other, we touch and stop for a second and gaze into each other's eyes and connect. I call them micro sanctuary moments. And when we're talking with each other, instead of just talking like we always have, we're connecting when we're talking. I mean, really seeing each other. And what that does is that then gets your nervous system so crazy safe with each other that it just lets desire just explode. Heather did it to me a month or so ago, and she came over to my chair, and I'd been working on the books and getting more frustrated with ChatGPT because it's the most broken piece of $200 a month software I ever used. And so I'm not a cussing man, but there's been times he had me bouncing in my chair cussing at him. And so I would not have been able to do all of this without Heather, because she was always the rock that came over, was able to calm me back down, make my logical brain return, and let me get back to work.
Yeah.
And so she had done that, and so I was hugging her around the waist, and I looked up at her and I said, "You're making me feel like a giddy schoolboy at 69 years old." Because that's the amount of desire that we have for each other now. Even though we have hormone problems, and I'm on TRT and she's on estrogen, but it's just still making us just desire each other more and more. So I think I've found the golden ticket to keeping a relationship in the romance phase for decades.
I love that. I love that. Sounds like you're on. It sounds like you're on the right track to sharing it with everybody too, which is great. So, Bite
Well,
Mark could not be here ahead of time, but she did send this question. She would like to know, what is your favorite poem?
the cremation of Sam McGee.
Okay,
You gonna look it up?
I am. That's what I'm doing right now.
Oh, what was his name?
By
Robert
Robert
Service.
Service. Yep, yep.
Robert Service. You got to read it for us?
Purchased and or published in his 1907 collection, Songs of a Sourdough. That's interesting. Let's see how long it is. Is it pretty short? Oh, it's pretty long. I'll read like the first little bit of it. So this is The Cremation of Sam McGee by Robert Service. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was the night on the marge of Lake Lebarge I cremated Sam McGee. Okay, all right. Well, I definitely want to read the rest of this. What makes this your favorite poem?
Uh, my father-in-law turned me on to Robert Service,
Yeah.
you know, 40 years ago, and so I just have always enjoyed his poetry, and and one of my favorite songs is "North to Alaska" by Johnny Horton.
Oh, I love that song. I love that song. I haven't listened to that. I'm gonna have to listen to that later because it's such a like
Hmm.
it's really catchy, but also it's just like got that one, the North to Alaska, like it just pushes
Hmm.
you.
Hmm. And Heather and I argue about this one because she thinks it's the most boring movie on the planet, and I think it's the best movie on the planet, and that's "Paint Your Wagon"
Oh, I'm not
with
familiar with that one.
Lee Marvin and Clint Eastwood. And Clint Eastwood actually sings in this, plays the guitar and sings in that movie. It's
Oh, okay.
about two gold miners that actually Clint's a farmer, but his his family's wagon goes off the trail and goes down the side of a cliff and kills his brother and breaks his leg.
Hmm.
And so Lee Marvin comes upon him and starts to help him. And as they're digging the grave for the brother, the dirt has gold in it.
Ah.
And
Yep.
so he's in the middle of Lee Marvin's in the middle of making the eulogy speech, and he sees the gold, and then he keeps going, and he said, "And I stake this claim for me and my new partner." And so Clint Eastwood and Lee Marvin become partners,
Yeah.
and then so a group of Mormons come through, and the Mormon has two wives, and the younger one had just lost her baby,
Mhm.
and so she was mourning, and the man didn't have much use for her anymore, and so he sold her at auction,
Oh,
and
wow.
a drunk Lee Marvin buys her,
Okay.
and so the movie was way ahead of its time because she ends up being the wife of both of them
Hmm.
in the
A
movie.
little a
So
little bit of a poly
yeah,
situation. That's
yeah,
cool.
it was.
For the
Yeah,
60s?
it
This
was.
came out
I
in the
think it was.
60s, is that?
Yes, I think 69.
Yep. Quite ahead of its
Yeah,
time for sure.
yeah. We actually, when Heather and I were traveling around the country doing the computer field service work, we got to stay in a motel that the cast stayed in when they were filming the movie in Oregon,
Hmm.
and so we got to hear the stories. And Clint Eastwood paid for the entire top floor to be remodeled once the movie was over.
Oh, that's cool. Now you said
Yeah.
that Heather doesn't agree with this. What's her favorite
No.
movie?
Well, both of our new favorite movies is Songs on Blue uh, with Hugh Jackman and oh, what's her name? You're making this old 69-year-old man dig deep here. I know, I can see her face.
Let's
Songs,
see.
yeah,
Song Blue.
Hugh Jackman plays a Neil Diamond
Hmm.
impersonator,
Mike
and
Sardina. Oh, Mike Sardina, yeah.
and
And
it
Kate with
it
Kate Hudson. That's,
Kate Hudson.
yes, there you
Yes,
go.
and it is a killer movie.
Okay.
I can't recommend it more.
I'll have to,
We were kind of disappointed because we thought it was going to be him playing Neil
mm,
Diamond when we went to go see it. And then we get in there and it's actually him being a Neil Diamond impersonator. And so we were a little disappointed when it started, but we weren't disappointed by the time it
by the
finished.
end. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's fantastic. What's your favorite life hack?
Gosh. Um, my favorite old man like life hack is a bidet.
Hell yes. 100%. I'm going to tell you, every time I travel, it doesn't matter how nice the resort is that I go to, I miss that thing.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, when you get older, you have issues with being chapped all the time. And so
Ah,
actually, it was ChatGPT that recommended that I get one.
yeah.
And it's been life changing.
Yeah, so I had to have surgery on both hands at the same
Hmm.
time. And so I wasn't going to be able to use the bathroom by myself without one. And it was one of those things that I billed it through my HSA because I was like, this is a medical purchase because it's for surgery recovery.
Hmm.
And that way I didn't have to ask my sister to help me. I didn't have to ask my dad to help me because they were there after my surgery. I didn't have to
Hmm.
ask them to help me. I was like, I have to have it. But I had already traveled to South Korea where they have them pretty much everywhere. And it
Okay.
was just such a cool thing to experience for the first time whenever you're
Hmm.
traveling to another country. It was just like, that was a long, long time ago, but it was just a really cool thing. So then whenever I had the chance to get one, I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. And now my bathroom is the most popular one because that's where it is.
I can't get Heather to use it. She said, "No, I'm not using that thing."
Oh, no, no. It's not life changing, okay, but it's life
It
changing.
was for me.
Yeah.
Well, and my second life hack is somewhere near that same area is kefir. It's like yogurt. It's
Oh,
a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
ferment
Yes. Yeah.
kefir, and especially anybody over 60 needs to be drinking a half cup of that every day. It keeps you steady. you know, and it's actually supposed to be good for your teeth too.
Oh, is
It's
it?
got it's got the enzymes or whatever it is that protect your teeth. And
Interesting. Okay. All right. I know there's some studies recently on some NASA was doing some studies on like protecting the minerals that are in your mouth for astronauts and all that stuff. So it's really neat that I think people are looking into that. Well, it is time for the magic moment of the stream. Let me get my prop working here. If you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception surrounding mental health, what would it be?
that your partner's your enemy.
Mm,
Your partner actually is your biggest source of mental health. Can
yeah.
be. I especially think now that I've developed the monument method, I'm actually planning a book on PTSD and and addiction, and of course a book uh, on health problems like I had.
Mm-hmm.
Because even as good as Heather and I got along with, we would have been better had we known the monument method.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I hate to say it's a cure-all, but it's actually turning out that there's going to be so many applications for it. It's
Yeah.
like I was talking about the police and firemen and stuff that stay in fight or flight mode all day long. They
Mm-hmm.
call it situational awareness, but they come home and they bring that home with them. And so if their mate can come to them and monument them and get them poof, out of that,
Mm-hmm.
that I've actually I'm got a couple of podcasts scheduled with business people, entrepreneur podcasts, because I'm going to pitch them that the most productiveness increasing thing they can do is have an amazing relationship at home,
Mm. Yeah.
because it 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 frees him up to do so much more. It if he's not having to deal with, a bad relationship at home.
Yeah.
So there's just so many places that can be applied.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
totally.
excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. Well, I'm going to post your socials one more time for folks to connect with
Okay.
you. If anybody has any questions that you haven't asked, feel free to go ahead and pop those into the chat. And then, Gaylen, while I do that, I'll just hand the mic over to you and let you talk about anything we didn't get to talk about or
Okay.
anything we didn't get to cover. So go for it.
Yeah. Probably my biggest truth bomb here that I dropped tonight is the greatest gift this life has to offer is a strong romantic, sexual, friendship, and spiritual relationship with one man or woman who you become incredibly one with. And anything you're doing in your life that isn't serving that goal is going to leave you empty in the end.
Yeah, I like that. Well, everyone who is here with us live, I'm going to disconnect with Gaylen behind the scenes in just a minute, but I've got a puzzle for y'all to work on in the meantime, so we'll have that on the next screen. But I hope that you got a lot out of this conversation, especially the reminder that shame is not this life sentence, and asking for help is one of the most solid things a person can do. And Gaylen, just thank you so much for what you're doing, what you're building, the things that you're sharing with the world, the way you're using the time you were given. I think that's such a huge
Mm-hmm.
thing. And for showing up today and being here and being this honest with our Even Tacos Fall Apart community. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, you're quite welcome. It's been an honor to be here, Mama.
Absolutely.
Just an absolute honor.
Well, to everyone who's watching, thank you again for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being exactly who you are. I will be right back. Don't go anywhere.